We'll get to
we
it
got
later.
some breaking news this morning.
We do.
That changed our rundown. In case you haven't seen it, at the top of the hour at 9:01 a.m., Donovan Mitchell officially signed his SUPERMAX extension with the Cleveland Cavaliers. This replaces the player option he had last year. So it's this year, now 3 years after, totaling $272.8 million for the Cavaliers. Rounds up to 273. Donovan could have waited till next year to sign this extension. If he did, he could have made an additional $80 million, but instead decided to sign now on the first day he was eligible to sign his SUPERMAX extension. This ties him to Cleveland for the next 4 seasons. Jason, the floor is yours. Your initial reaction to Donovan Mitchell signing a 4-year, $273 million SUPERMAX extension with the Cavaliers on the very first day he was eligible to do so.
He took the stability and the security of the long-term deal rather than roll the dice on the extra 80. And it's great news in the short term for the Cavs, obviously, to get this done and locked up. I just didn't want, because I didn't think he was going to sign it. I think a lot of people thought he wasn't going to sign it, because why would you? You could wait an extra year and get the other $80 million next year. But I was glad that he signed it so that we didn't have this all year long of,
right.
If
they're not good this year,
and if things go sideways, and you just, because it's easy to say in July he'll sign it next year.
Right.
December, January, February, if it's not going well, it can get kind of messy. So that's out of the way. That's taken care of. The end of the contract could be problematic for Cleveland, just the way that he's trending. I mean, he's going to be 30 when the season starts. So this is very much, I look at this very much as we're going to celebrate this in the upfront, in the short term, maximize their window to contend in the next year or two. And if the contract ages badly at the end of it, you deal with that when you get to it. But this is very much they're pushing all in and going for it now. They've got the face of the franchise under team control. And now we'll see what the rest of the week holds. And if anybody else is coming along to join them here later on in the week.
That's right.
You know what's funny? Adam and I talked about this morning. When LeBron came back the last time, 2014, he was about to turn 30.
Correct.
The same age as Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
that's true.
And,
That's right.
And
3 months apart.
And like we look at Donovan like he's kind of on the decline.
Yeah.
And LeBron was like totally in his prime.
Yeah.
And there was no decline in sight.
No.
Isn't it crazy to think about?
That is true.
The age.
But he's one of one.
Well, and they're built a little differently.
Yeah.
Correct.
And when LeBron came back, actually, that first year, there was concerns about his back. And is he on the downside? 12 years later, he was not on the downside.
Yeah, now he is.
But now,
and that downside is still pretty high.
Yeah, but I mean, remember, when LeBron, I vividly remember this, his first year back, his back wasn't right. He didn't like Blatt. And remember, he went away for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he just left.
Went on vacation.
Went on vacation.
Yeah.
Went back to Miami for 2 weeks in December, I think it was, November, December. And he came back and he looked like himself again. But there was a little bit of what's going on with the back and what have the Cavs gotten themselves into. And clearly now, 12 years later, it was nothing.
Yeah, and clearly, unlike LeBron, the back end of this contract's going to be bad. But here's the reality. Like, Donovan Mitchell at the end of last year showed already some early signs of decline, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Not massive, but a little bit.
I think it's fair.
Right? James Harden clearly showed signs of decline at the end of last year. Again, I'm not saying they're not good anymore. I'm just saying they're not at their peak anymore. As great as LeBron is, and I know we all want him to come back. We all will be thrilled if he comes back. He's not at the peak of his – even LeBron is not at the peak of his powers anymore. So – I don't even know if this is a 2-year thing. I mean, this may be a 1-year thing. Take your shot. Because would it surprise anybody if James Harden went completely off the cliff in the next year?
No.
Yeah, I think
completely off. I'd be
would
surprised.
be. Yeah, I would be.
Really?
Just because.
Okay.
He's such a good he isn't the scorer, and his scoring may go off a cliff, but he can still impact the game as a passer.
But if his scoring goes off the cliff, that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Is it going to regress from last year?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Right.
Off a cliff, I would be surprised.
Okay, fine. But you wouldn't be surprised if he took a drop down.
No.
A decent drop down. Fine. So with 3 of your 4 best players being older, Donovan getting older, James Harden normal old for basketball, and LeBron James not normal old, whatever, like, I don't even know the odds of them all staying healthy, even though Harden and LeBron have been relatively healthy, and so has Donovan.
LeBron's had some significant injuries.
But he has had more injuries in recent years. But, like, for his career, obviously, he hasn't been. But the odds of them all being healthy and all playing well, like, for 1 year, let alone 2, I don't know. But you just do it. I mean, you do it because what are your other options?
Right.
Your best chance is to get whoever you get. And if you sign LeBron and then you trade for Anthony Davis or you sign DeMar DeRozan or whatever it is, you bring all these guys in, you hope it can work, and bring them in now. You don't want to wait for the trade deadline to do any of these things because you want them to get used to being, playing together, and it's a wonky fit, and they're older guys, and maybe they're injury prone, especially if you go get an Anthony Davis. But maybe it just works because the East is probably as strong as it's been in a number of years. We know what the top of the West is like. The Cavs, whatever the floor is for signing all these old guys, is irrelevant. You got to put it together a team that has the highest possible ceiling. Even if reaching that ceiling might only be a 25% chance.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do to be able to get through this Eastern Conference, and I think they're trying to do that. And I'm on board with that.
To that point of, like, old teams typically don't win championships.
Right. Yes.
But when the Warriors won their last title,
Yep. Yes.
I just looked up Steph's age because I wasn't sure. He was 33 going into 34.
Right.
And so Clay would have been maybe a couple years younger than that, but
So
plus 30.
in his
30
30s.
plus.
Yeah.
Draymond
was in his
same.
30s.
So
Yeah.
it's not impossible.
Right.
Is it likely? No. I would say it's probably not likely. That
No,
a team
but
of
when
30
but
plus.
as is even less likely.
But it's not impossible. I mean,
Right.
Evan is still incredibly young.
Yeah.
Jalen Tyson, obviously not a star player, but
Right.
an important piece, I think
Yeah.
we would all agree.
Sure.
Still obviously relatively young. So it's not totally old, but the especially if LeBron does come back, obviously the key pieces we're talking about here are elderly by NBA standards.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible. It's not likely, not impossible. The Warriors proved when you have elite talent, even at that age, you can still get it done.
You know how we supposedly like dogs are like dog years, 1 year is 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think with LeBron, you have to subtract 7 years from his age because he's not a normal human being. He's
going
of
into
one.
his age 35 season.
Yeah, that's how I look at it for LeBron. He's going into his age 35 season, which is when like
So you think he's
normal.
gonna play 7 more years?
I mean, he could. If I told you right now LeBron played to 50, would you? I mean, he won't because he'll choose. But couldn't he,
Yes,
in theory,
yes.
play to 50?
What could
Absolutely.
he average at 50?
I bet you could still average 15 a game.
How about that?
Am I nuts?
I don't know.
I would say like
You cannot think about LeBron like any other player probably in the history of sports.
but
you know better than anybody.
at 50, he's probably averaging 8 to 10 points, 5 or 6 rebounds,
Okay.
5 or 6 assists.
Hey,
If he
This
averaged
is playing.
9, 5, and 5 at 50 as probably a grandpa, that would be pretty amazing.
That is I have to push back on that. But
Push back all you want.
But I don't have any
You
premise,
can't bet against LeBron. I'm never
my
betting
thing is
against
he'd
LeBron.
just be 50. Like he'd be 50, and the game's getting faster and faster and more physical. Like would his body hold up? But if anyone could, it is LeBron.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you guys about the extension though, real quick, because it ties back to the Donovan and the LeBron situation and all that. Jason, do you think what we saw happen last week with Jaylen Brown, the trade, Boston basically saying we don't want to pay you that much money, we're going to get off this contract before it's too late, impacted Donovan's decision to sign now as opposed to waiting till next summer?
That's a good question. I think probably his performance the last year or two contributed to his decision to take the money now. You're one catastrophic injury away from having a completely different conversation. And when you've made as much money as he's already signed one max deal. Yeah. He's good.
He's already,
So this is, okay, you're leaving $80 million on the table. And I didn't think he would.
because usually guys try to get as much as they can.
I thought he would wait and sign next year, but I think he clearly looked at this as, hey man, $270 million. Bend it over. We've talked about it with Guardians players. Bend over and pick up the money. Like it's right there in front of you.
He's
and
already
he
set
chose
for
to-
life.
Yeah.
His family set for life.
Now,
you know.
Mike's point is interesting about what we saw with Jaylen Brown and Boston's urgency to get off that money.
Yeah.
I mean, different scenario, but we saw it with Atlanta getting off Trae Young and basically giving him away
Right.
to Washington. Now, Trae's younger than Donovan, but not by much, probably. They're probably about the same age, aren't they? Trae and Donovan? I'm trying to think.
But
Donovan's 30. Trae Young's 27. Turns 28 this year.
But Donovan's just a much better player.
Different reasons, but you sign these guys to these massive deals.
Right.
And then you get halfway through the deal or toward the end of the deal, and you're just trying to get off the money.
Right.
And that's what Washington did with Trae Young. That's what Boston did with Jalen. And clearly, I think we all missed on what Jalen's value was across the NBA, because I thought it was more valuable than what the rest of the league clearly pegged him as.
Yeah.
And maybe the Cavs will get to that point at some point in this contract with Donovan.
I don't know.
But that's for down the road.
Yeah.
For right now, it's, you're trying to maximize your window to win a championship right now in the next year or two.
Do you think that Donovan signed this deal because he knows hey, LeBron's going to come back? It could.
I don't think anybody knows what LeBron's going to do. I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah. But even if so let's assume LeBron.
You can have a good feeling.
Yeah.
He may have a good feeling.
But I'm just saying, things could go a variety of ways for Donovan.
Mm-hmm.
If LeBron comes back, who knows? Maybe Donovan's numbers are cut way back. Maybe he doesn't put up the stats that he thought he was going to. I just think from a standpoint, if I'm Donovan and I know that this town's local hero is going to come back and be a part of this team, I could be in the shadows in some ways. And I want to get my money.
I hear you.
I'm just asking.
I hear you, and it's valid, but if you look at how they handled Kevin Love, they kept rewarding Kevin even though his numbers didn't reflect the total player he could be, but because he willingly took a backseat last time, they rewarded him. They gave him one too many contracts as far as I'm concerned. So I think it really comes down to Donovan looking at this saying, I'm going to be 30. Who knows what the other side of the cliff looks or when I'm going to get to that cliff. He has shown signs. Mike and I have talked at length over the couple of years. Some of his numbers at the rim, his explosiveness isn't quite what it was. Yeah. We're not saying that he's at the cliff. We're just saying there's some early indications that, this could go sideways.
He's on the other side of the hill.
Sooner than later.
Yeah.
So I think he took the financial. It was a smart. I mean, how could you ever fault the guy for taking $270 million? It's great.
And by the way,
it's great for both sides right now.
It's weird to say this about that much money, but Donovan, again, it seems to be pretty selfless for a superstar, and he might just be and he doesn't want to deal with the questions about,
Right.
He's this is so much money. What another $80 million? What does it matter at that point? I get that players always want the most money. I get it.
Way to becoming a billionaire.
I'm not saying they shouldn't, but in the grand scheme of things, $270 or $350 million in terms of your life is no different
when it's already the second one.
Right, exactly. Well,
he's already signed one.
Right. He's already a multimillionaire. He's probably and maybe his numbers would be affected, whatever. I think that's the good thing. One of the great things about Donovan Mitchell is that he'd probably be happy to have his numbers go down if it means they have a better chance to win.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
100%.
And there's some superstars that wouldn't want to do that.
I mean, we've talked about that for years, that his timeline was different than Darius and Evan and even Jarrett. He was I just sensed it. His obsession with winning wasn't quite caught up with the now I think they're getting I think the rest of them are getting there now that you've gone through it a couple times.
Yeah, sure.
But he was clearly ahead of the pack in terms of all I want at this point in my career is to win.
That is a good point by you. I mean, you bring up the fact that if he cares about winning, there's a chance that him caring about winning may bring his numbers down.
Right.
He may have to be a different type of player. Certainly, if LeBron comes back, he's going to have to take a different role. All the guys are going to have to take a different role. But I just think if you're a guy who's trying to put up the numbers to get the contract, it takes away from the team.
Yeah, potentially, sure, absolutely.
And so this ideally can be looked at as sort of an unselfish move by Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
and I think it's better if he does take a lesser role. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
because we've seen when Donovan is pulling
his usage is up, it's not good.
Yeah. When Donovan
his body breaks down.
When Donovan is the one trying to pull the freight, it doesn't necessarily work out all that well. So it's better if there's enough, if it's LeBron James, whatever, for him to take a half a step back, a full step back, whatever. It could be better for his career long term.
Yeah,
as well, in terms of durability.
LeBron, Harden, and Donovan together with the three of if the three of them are playing together, not one of them doesn't have to do it all for too long in little segments, right? Everybody can get more rest. Everybody they're going to need it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. What you got?
Just on a couple of things. And then we toss it back to you guys. His usage rate last year was 32.2, which was the third highest of his career, just slightly. Highest of his career is 33.5. Second highest, 32.9 last year. 2 years ago was 30.9. So it's all in that low 30s.
Mm-hmm.
The Cavs need Donovan to be able to do that in the playoffs. Last year, his playoff usage rate was 37, which is too high, obviously.
Yeah, right. Well, it would be. I mean, if LeBron were on the team, it's going down.
It goes down, exactly. So I think him taking a little step back, sacrificing for the betterment of the good to keep him healthier for the playoffs to be beneficial. But I also want to mention this.
Wait, real quick, Mike, on what you just mentioned, because I probably asked you, but I don't remember. How do they do usage rate? Like, how does that work?
It is an estimate of the percentage of team plays used by a player while they're on the floor. So if it ends in a shot, a turnover, a miss, it's basically a play they run through you.
So what if they're moving the ball around the perimeter and you touch it at the pass but don't do anything else? Does that count?
No.
No. Okay.
No. It is your usage as like a focal point of an offense, not how many touches you get.
Got it.
The other thing I want to mention with Donovan, since I've been in Cleveland, I can only speak since 2022. You guys can speak longer. This has not been a free agent destination. This has not been a place where you hear players say, hey, I want to live my life here. I want to build my family here. I want to settle down here. From the day Donovan got here, he said, I love Cleveland. I want to be here. This is where I see my future. And this is now 2 contract extensions that Donovan has signed in Cleveland with the Cavaliers, backing up the words he has said. He has said from the get-go, from his mouth to my ears in the same room, we said it to Jason, you guys may not believe me, but watch my actions.
Yeah.
And his actions have now been 2 massive extensions with the Cavaliers in an era where player movement is as free as it's ever been in the NBA. And I want to just commend him in a way.
Yeah.
For putting his money where his mouth is, basically, and becoming a player that has embraced Cleveland as a city, as a franchise, when a lot of other people could have done the opposite.
You know,
I think that's kind of rare in today's NBA, and I want to commend it. It's special.
You know, I was very critical of Donovan in the playoffs last year because, especially in that the last 2 series, really, he didn't play particularly well, I thought, but he has been a great representative of Cleveland athletes.
Oh, for sure.
Like he's again, I don't know him personally. You guys know him a little bit.
He's exactly what you hope for.
But seems like a great guy. He seems like a great teammate. He never does anything stupid. He never says the wrong thing. He has a very positive attitude. He seems very friendly. He plays really well. I'm sure he'd be the first to say the playoffs have ended badly his entire time here.
He's the first to admit that himself.
Yeah, but like you can't ask for a guy who's been, in a lot of ways, one of the best superstars that Cleveland's ever had, especially in the last 20 years.
The trade was a complete home run.
Yeah. My God.
He's been everything that they wanted him to be. They had a really young locker room at the time of the trade, and they needed someone to guide them.
Yeah.
And he has been all that and more. He's been everything in the locker room, on the floor, off the floor. You never have to worry about him doing something stupid at 2 a.m.
Right.
Like, he gets it.
Yeah.
And, you look at it, I remember right after the trade where a lot of people thought, like, Utah got a great deal out of it.
Yeah.
Utah had won more than 37 games.
Yeah.
And they've gone down. Last year was their first. I just looked it up. They won 37, then 31, then 17, and now this year up to 22. They've been an absolute mess since they made the trade.
Who's the rookie they trade? Abaji? Was that his name?
Ochai Abaji, who's now on the Raptors.
Yeah.
So is he any good? He's not any good, right?
Not really. No. And by the way, Donovan's now signed with Cleveland through the end of the picks they gave up to Utah in that deal.
Oh, yeah.
29's his last season. 29's the last pick they gave up to Utah in that deal.
All right.
So it was a home run.
Yeah.
And there was points early where it was like, man, I don't know. These picks could really come back to haunt them a little bit. And it was a great trade.
It's been the anti Deshaun Watson deal.
Yeah. I mean, the Cavs took a ton of risk in that
right,
deal.
Not knowing if he would stay. Yeah.
Markkanen was a good player.
Yeah.
A really good player.
Yeah.
I always thought Colin was way overrated, and now nobody talks about Colin Sexton. He's just a guy. He fills up a stat sheet.
Yeah,
but he's not. I don't think he's ever been really a winning player.
He's a decent player, but
with the picks that they gave up, not knowing knowing Donovan wanted to be in New York, Donovan admitting he thought he was going to New York.
Yeah.
All of the talk around the league that first year he was here, every time I talked to somebody, it was, well, he's not staying there. He wants to be in New York. Well, and for them to take the chance, it paid off. Like it was a big risk at the time of the trade, and it worked out for him.
It's so funny because when the Knicks signed Jalen Brunson, obviously there was a lot of criticism as like this being the big move. We've all seen the montage of Stephen A. Smith and all these other guys saying, "Oh, terrible move. He can't be your best player." But had the Knicks not done that, we'll never know. But maybe Donovan Mitchell would have become a Knick. We'll never know.
The Knicks chose elsewhere besides Donovan.
Yeah.
They never gave Donovan the option to choose New York.
Right.
Because they chose elsewhere.
Right. And obviously now it's too late for him.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
However it happened, we're glad it did.
No
obviously, right? I mean, he's been a great he may not, I know at one point we were discussing Donovan Mitchell versus Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving was part of a championship team, and Kyrie, I get at his best, is probably better than Donovan, right? I don't know, but
it's hard for me to have.
But I have better feelings about Donovan than I do for Kyrie Irving.
I mean, had Kyrie not played with LeBron,
he would have never won a championship.
Your view on Kyrie would probably be drastically different.
Oh, 100%.
And so now I'm curious if Donovan, although it's not the same LeBron as 10 years ago, but what Donovan's game would look like had he played. Because again, Donovan's always been a one. And I'm not sure you can win with him as a one.
Right.
A championship. He's a tremendous player. And that's not to take anything away from Donovan.
No.
I just don't know that you win a title with him as your number one. I don't think Kyrie ever wins if he's a number one
chance
on a team.
You're right.
But when you put a legitimate bona fide one in front of them, and then their game flourishes as a tremendous two option, that's why you say Kyrie's had the better career than Don. Well, he also had the opportunity to play with LeBron for 4 years and win a championship that Donovan never had.
I wonder who will be considered the better player when they both retire, Kyrie or Donovan.
Kyrie is so difficult.
Yeah. Donovan's is the opposite of Kyrie.
Yeah.
And Donovan's been relatively healthy, where Kyrie's been hurt for
Kyrie's
most of
had
his
a ton of injuries, and he hasn't helped himself off the floor, which has nothing to do with on-court production.
No,
but it colors how people view him.
Yeah.
So that's a difficult dude to pin down.
Mm-hmm. Well, who will be the better Cavalier?
Kyrie, who big
Kyrie because he won it. Yeah, you win the championship.
Both will. I mean, Donovan, if he finishes his contract here, will play 8 years. Kyrie was here 7 or 8.
Kyrie was here 4 before LeBron got here, and
draft,
3 with him.
Yeah, so 7.
7.
Yeah.
1 year after the championship, so
8.
7. I think it was 7.
Oh yeah, 7. Yeah, that's right.
So
3. No, he was 3 before LeBron came back. 3 years before LeBron came back,
and then 3 years with LeBron.
Him.
So 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so Donovan will probably be here longer.